Here we go. We have Bellator and UFC action. Let us do Bellator first. We have Bellator 299 going down in Dublin. Eblen versus Edwards is the headliner. This card has 21 bouts.
Sure does. Freaking insane.
Bellator keeps doing this. They do it's like they're doing smokers in like the basement of their gym somewhere, and selling. It's like the more fights they book, the more tickets they sell because everybody brings their families and their friends.
I think they're like, we don't know how many events we're going to be putting on, so like we're just going to get all you guys on the card, get you one more paycheck.
Dog,
Right.
when I tell you how long these events can sometimes be, like when I go to a lot of the amateur events, that's technically where you usually see these like 20 plus cards. Bro, we are there, and then they have the audacity to put on an intermission. How dare you, sir? It's already like we're already here for 2 hours. Keep it fucking moving. How are you gonna make me wait even longer?
Sometimes though, from a production standpoint though, you just gotta pee. You because they go bout to bout to bout to bout.
Yeah. Let's keep it moving.
It's not for the announcer, because sometimes if a bout starts and it's like after the first minute you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure no one's gonna get knocked out in this fight. Like it just kind of seems like a spar. You're like, okay, I'm gonna run, I'm gonna pee. But the commentary table, they don't get a break. They talk for the whole time. So the intermission's kind of for them as well.
Fair.
Tell you, it's not for me. Fucking sitting there sweating my ass off waiting for them to keep going.
Okay, so before we talk about any of the, looks like 6 bouts that we're going to talk about, any other fights or fighters that you guys want to spotlight for our listeners?
Yeah, there's definitely some names worth keeping an eye on. Looks like I don't know if this bout order is right or not, but the first fight listed is Kasan Magomed Sharapov versus Pyotr Nidzielski. That's a pretty solid featherweight fight. Davey Gallen's on the card. Luka Poklit's fighting Roman Feraldo. That's a good fight. Kieran Clark, who's still undefeated, is on the card again. Charlie Warden, Gregory Babine. That's not maybe the highest level fight, but someone's probably sleeping. Peter Quealy's on the card. Maybe he can finally get a win in Dublin. Poor guy gets the most incredible receptions in the world and then just loses every time he fights in Dublin. I could probably keep going, but yeah, definitely some names worth watching.
Luke Trainer's on this card too, actually. Luke Trainer's a motherfucker.
Yep, that's another one.
Pedro Chokheli. I have to say it like that. I just have to. All right, first up, on the prelims in the lightweight division, Mansour Barnaoui, I believe is how you say the name. J.J. Wilson is his opponent. For this couple early ones, I won't cue them up like I usually do. So, Mark, why don't you just give us your quick take and pick?
Keep him moving. Okay, Barnaoui is actually a bigger favorite than I even expected. He's minus 325. J.J. Wilson is plus 225. 1 inch of height and 3 inches of reach for Barnaoui. Both of these dudes have shown some big potential at times in there. This is a tough crossroads fight for both of them, though. They both kind of need this win. Wilson's coming off a split decision win over Vladimir Tokov. He's only 1-1 since having to move up to lightweight due to his struggles to make 145. Barnaoui's coming off that war with Brent Primus that knocked him out of the lightweight Grand Prix. And I like J.J. Wilson. I liked him a lot at 145. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he'll be dangerous in this fight, but I do think he's probably going to get taken down. He's a bit wild. He kind of gets comfortable off his back because he's obviously a skilled jiu-jitsu player, but I think he might end up just spending too much time on the bottom in this fight. So, hopefully we get some fun striking exchanges too, because they're both certainly capable of that. But I think Mansour might win the grappling, and that might be what edges it. So I will say UD for him.
Omar.
Yeah, I'd have to agree as well. I think both of these guys are super talented. I think J.J. Wilson has really good striking, or at least explosive striking, if nothing else. But Mansour, I think when it comes down to it, if he does end up getting into trouble, I don't see him getting slept to the point where he won't be able to react and defend himself against a bad situation and be able to take it down to the ground and then continue to work from there. So I just think there's going to be more avenues to success for Mansour there, barring some kind of flash knockout, which again I don't foresee happening. So I'll go with Barnaoui by unanimous decision.
I agree with you guys, but I'm going with the Maori kid, the kid who does the haka at his weigh-ins. This is a terrible pick, but I'm going to go with JJ Wilson. Give me JJ Wilson by decision because Mansour Barnaoui has never been finished. Okay, next up we have... Where are we here? Not Pedro Chokheli.
Just straight to the main card.
Yes.
Sabah Homasi. Yeah.
Sabah Homasi taking on, is it Levan? Chokheli?
Yes.
Look at me. Okay. Omar, start us off.
I like Sabah Homasi. I think if there's any criticism to Sabah Homasi is that the kid's got one good round in him and then it all goes to shit after that. So if Sabah Homasi doesn't win in the first round, I don't see him winning a decision. I don't know a ton about Levan. What I can tell you is that he's got more of a gas tank than Sabah Homasi is. And I think if he can survive the first round, I think he wins that fight. Surviving a first round with Sabah, though, is a lot easier said than done. I will give him that kind of credit because he does find a way to turn people off in the first round. But if he does fuck around too much, he's going to end up in the second round, and then we're all going to see it go to hell from there. So I'm going to take a safer pick here, and I'm going to go with Levan here by unanimous decision. But do not be surprised if Sabah puts that kid face down in the first round.
That definitely could happen, but I also am going to go with Levan because at this point I don't trust Homasi. He himself has been finished 9 times in his career, and I love your assessment that he's kind of a first round guy. So give me Levan. I'll say round 2 knockout. Mark.
I think those are probably the smart picks. Vegas agrees. Chokheli, I can't remember if it's just like Chokheli or if it's Chokheli. I forget how he says it. But he's minus 230. Sabah's plus 180. The height is the same. There's 2 inches of reach on the Levan side. And he's good. He's 3-2 in Bellator so far. One of the losses is to Goichi Yamauchi, which is going to happen. And he's certainly got the game to grind out Sabah and not give us many striking exchanges if he chooses to go that route. But he's also a pretty good striker, so I think he may want to show that he can strike with Sabah, and maybe he pays for it. Like I said, I think the smart call is probably him winning a decision, but I've enjoyed what I've seen from Sabah as of late, even in the losses. I want to believe that he can get this done, so I'm going to pick him. I'll say he has him hurt in round 1 and then finishes him early in round 2. I'll say Sabah Homasi, round 2 KO.
Okay, moving right along here. In the featherweight division, Mads Burnell taking on Daniel, is it Weichel? Weichel? Does anybody know?
Weichel.
Right?
Daniel Weichel? Now I forget. Man, it's hard to remember these Bellator guys. You don't see them fight for a fucking minute because they're on like a YouTube undercard one day and then they're back on the main card the next. Yeah, Weichel. Daniel Weichel.
Yeah, Weichel.
Yeah.
He's
You're not going to remember the guy who's like number 20 on the card.
Daniel Weichel. Marco.
Was that your German accent?
It wasn't.
Bro,
great.
my German is chef's kiss.
All right. Mads is favorite. He's minus 270. Weichel's plus 210. 2 inches of height and 2 inches of reach on his side, though, Weichel's side. He is going to be making his 57th walk to a cage in this one as a pro.
What the fuck?
Mads Burnell, despite losing 2 of his last 3, is a guy whose talent I still believe in. And that means I'm going to need to trust that he can beat a 38-year-old Daniel Weichel. And it's no easy feat. There hasn't really been any big fall-off or anything as of yet from Weichel. But I got to trust Mads here. I'm going to say that Weichel's probably a little too slow, that Mads puts a little too much pressure on him, and that he's even slick enough to edge Weichel on the mat if it ends up there. Weichel's a well-rounded dude. He always has been. But I'm going to go with Mads Burnell by UD.
That is a lot of fighting in a cage.
Yeah, it is.
Too many miles. I don't like it. 38 years old, 700 fights. I totally agree. Mads Burnell's going to take this one. Give me Mads Burnell by UD. Omar.
Any guesses as to when his first fight was? Like what year his first fight was?
2001.
Mark?
His first pro fight. 2004.
2002. Mike wins. There we go.
Trivia.
Impromptu trivia.
That was trivia.
Yeah, man. I don't necessarily give Daniel Weichel for shit for being 38 years old. But what I do give him shit for is his inconsistency inside of the cage. He's got wins, he's got losses. He doesn't really have a lot of solid momentum going across. And when it comes to hang on, wrong card here, my bad. When it comes to Mads Burnell, I just think he's one of these guys that is constantly active in there and constantly trying to win. His scrambles, I think, are kind of something that are important to his game, not necessarily always allowing somebody to take control of him and kind of get the better of him. He's always active and always moving, always throwing punches. He's been beaten, obviously, before, but he's had some really good momentum up until that point, and he just won his last fight. So I'm going to stick with Mads Burnell here. I think he can get a unanimous decision done over Daniel Weichel.
Okay. Weichel. That's German. Thank you. If you want any lessons, let me know. Okay. Going over to the women's featherweight.
Who'd you pick? Did you pick?
Yeah, bro.
Oh, you did? Who'd you say?
Yeah.
You said, yeah, I'm sorry. That's right. You said Burnell as well. My fault. I remember.
It's all good.
I just didn't write it down.
Okay. Women's featherweight division. Sinead K.O. Kavanagh taking on Sara Collins. Mark, why don't you start us off this time?
Pretty tight odds here. Sinead is minus 135. Sara Collins is plus 115. The height is the same. The reach is the same. It's a big step up for Sara Collins here in her career. She's only 4-0 as a pro. Easily the most established fighter that she has fought to this point. Sinead's a vet. She's been around. It doesn't have a ton of fights, but she's fought kind of a who's who. I do think it's a coin toss. It wouldn't shock me to see Sinead just kind of put hands on her. But Collins is a solid judo player, and I'm going to say she can drag this one down a couple times and maybe find a sub. So I will say round 2 sub for Collins.
Nice pick. Omar.
That would be some shit, wouldn't it? I don't necessarily disagree with that take. I'm not super sold on Sinead Kavanagh, but at the same time, I do think that she has the experience under her belt compared to Sara Collins, at least in the MMA world specifically. And I do think the hands are going to make a little bit of a difference, especially early on if she can get her hands on her. We've seen instances where judo works a ton when performed properly. But we've also seen instances that if you can't get them down to the ground or you can't get that clinch, a lot of games tend to go to hell. So I think that if Kavanagh plays her cards right and plays and approaches the fight in a smart way, I think she has the tools to get this done. So I will also go by unanimous decision. I wouldn't even be surprised to see her knock the girl out, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the experience here. She just has more flight hours here. Is Sinead Kavanagh. That's my Irish. I just want to be Irish, though. Guys, I want to be Irish. Or Scottish. Scottish even more. Dude.
Aren't you part Scottish?
No, I'm part Norwegian. But not really. Like, not in any meaningful way. I'm an American guy.
My dad just got back from Scotland. It looks like it was freaking awesome in the pictures.
Dude, Scotland is a fucking cool country, man. I just want to talk like them. Dude, one time, real quick story, real quick. At my old job at the Apple store in New York, it's a global store. People from all over the world come through that store, right? So these two dudes come up into the store, and they're clearly like some kind of like European or I don't know what, but like they're talking to each other in some kind of language. And I go over to them to try to help them, and I'm like, oh, they're conversing together. They're figuring something out. And I'm standing there for like 2 minutes until I realize they're talking in English, but they're from Scotland. and I thought that they were speaking a fucking foreign language. It was so different. It was just like,
Yeah.
it's everybody's good. Suppose everybody, you know.
Dude, thick Scottish is really hard to understand.
It's so hard to understand.
Although I was telling my dad that before he went, and then when he got back, I was like, how many people did you have trouble understanding? And he was like, none. It was very easy. And I was like, what? Really?
You were like, Dad, how many people did you have trouble understanding? He was like, well, you know, Mark, you got your asses in the windy. Okay. All right. Let's move on. I'm taking Sinead by UD. Okay, fun one here. Co-main event, Bellator 299. In the featherweight division, Aaron Pico taking on Pedro the Game Carvalho. I'll cue this one up. Aaron Pico, still only 26 years old, out of California. He's 11-4 as a pro thus far. 9 finishes, 7 of them are knockouts. After dropping a fight to Jeremy Kennedy with his shoulder injury back in October of 2022, he jumped right back in the win column, defeating James Gonzalez by decision this past April. Pedro, the Game Carvalho, the 28-year-old out of Portugal, his record stands at 13-7 heading into this weekend with 8 finishes, 6 of them submissions, and he is looking to jump right back into the win column after losing to Jeremy Kennedy as well in his last bout, this back in February. Mark, start us off. Give us those odds, and then give us your take and your pick.
The odds are not close. Aaron Pico minus 1,000.
Holy shit.
Pedro Carvalho plus 600. Personally, I think that's a little ridiculous. Like, this is not Habib that we're talking about here. But I do think Pico's going to win. To give you the stats quick, 3 inches of height on the Carvalho side. The reach is actually the same. Carvalho beat Mads Burnell 2 fights ago, which I don't know what to do with. I still can't believe he beat Mads, but he is 2-4 in his last 6. Sure, he's got some tricky skills. He's tough to hold down. He can strike from range, but I don't think it matters in this particular matchup. I think that Aaron Pico is that good, and I think he finally breaks through here and moves past this level of opponent for good into truly the title picture and maybe out of Bellator eventually. But I think he finishes Pedro. I'll say it's a body shot and ground and pound in round 2.
Omar, why are you picking Carvalho with the upset?
Nah, man. Aaron Pico's good, man. Aaron Pico's got so much talent, so much raw talent that it's very difficult to want to pick against him or to even think about picking against him in a spot like this where I think he has a clear advantage, both in the striking, to be honest, and potentially in the ground game as well. For all the rolling around and the stuff that Pedro sometimes likes to do, I just don't think there's anything that Aaron Pico is not going to be prepared for in that fight. And like I said before, his striking is crisp. His hands are really, really nasty, and he throws a lot of power in them. He's had time, obviously, to continue to get better. His last performance was dominant, but I think I expected even a little bit more from him at that point. It's possible he was still kind of dealing with the loss from Jeremy Kennedy, the shoulder injury and kind of recovering from that, because it wasn't – his return to the cage was not that much longer after his shoulder got fucked up. So it's possible now he's had more time to recover. Hopefully that's the case and we see a better version of Aaron Pico because, like I said, he was still good in his last fight, but I think we know that he can be even better.
Yeah, this is the Aaron Pico era. The guy is such a talent, such a star. I think it was a bit of a blip, obviously, with that shoulder injury, which felt like it did feel like a momentary just derailment of the Aaron Pico train. But he got back to his winning ways this past spring, and I think he's just going to keep rolling. Give me Aaron Pico by knockout, I'll say round 3.
I don't know if I said mine specifically, but I'm going UD for mine.
Okay. Main event time. Bellator 299. Johnny Diamond Hands Eblen taking on Fabian the Assassin Edwards. Johnny Eblen is the 31-year-old fighting out of Boca Raton, Florida, undefeated as a professional fighter 13 wins, no losses. 6 of those wins are finishes. 5 of them are knockouts. Most recently, he defeated Anatoly Tokov by unanimous decision this past February at Bellator 290. He will be standing across from Fabian Edwards, the 30-year-old, out of Birmingham, West Midlands, England.
Birmingham.
What did I say?
No, I said it British, how Leon says it.
Oh, you're right. Birmingham. Is that right? 12-2 as a pro, with 7 finishes, riding a 3-fight win streak, coming into this weekend, defeating Lyoto Machida, Charlie Ward, and Gegard Mousasi. Not bad. Mark, start us off. Give us your take and your pick, and, of course, the odds.
All right. Pretty wide for a title fight. Johnny Eblen is minus 500. Not shocking, though. Fabian Edwards is plus 375 as the underdog. The height is the same. There is a 5.5-inch reach advantage for Fabian Edwards, which is honestly more than I was expecting when I went to look that up. And it's absolutely possible that Fabian could make that a factor because his game kind of plays into that. So for as long as this one takes place on the feet, it could be interesting how he's able to use that reach. Problem is, I just don't think we spend that much time there. I know Eblen has looked very good on the feet and seems comfortable there, but I don't see why he wouldn't look to be primarily a wrestler in this fight. I know Gegard didn't have a ton of success in taking down Fabian Edwards where I thought that he could, but I think Johnny Eblen is a different animal than Gegard Mousasi when it comes to the wrestling. And I think he will take Fabian down a lot. I think he grinds on him. I think he outpaces him. Mat returns, things like that to tire him out. I think he keeps pressure on him and just eventually drowns him in there. And who knows? I paid for it last fight, obviously not believing in Fabian Edwards. I was sure he could not beat Gegard Mousasi, and I was wrong on that. So I could be wrong, but I'll be very surprised if I am. I just think Eblen is the better fighter here. I'm going to say round 3 TKO for Johnny Eblen via some ground and pound.
So I don't think that this fight gets finished, personally. I do think Fabian Edwards is very good, and I think he's actually gotten better over the course of his time here in Bellator. And I do like Johnny Eblen. I think Johnny Eblen has continuously proven that he is one of the best in the middleweight division. The only problem I really have at this point is Johnny Eblen's propensity to get hit. Right? As good as Johnny Eblen is, as dominant as a lot of his performances are, he gets tagged, and he gets tagged quite a bit. And the problem is one of these days you're going to get a striker who's going to have enough power to put you out with one of the strikes that ends up landing on you eventually, right? Eblen has decent defense, but it could be tighter in those exchanged moments. A lot of his defense, I think, relies on timed takedowns and not always conventional blocking and using your fucking guard to block properly. And I think that leaves him open quite a lot sometimes. And I think earlier on in the fight, when Fabian's got his legs under him, when Fabian doesn't have a ton of damage on him, when he's got his speed, where his gas is at its peak, I just see that being a really difficult time for Eblen, especially, like I said, in the first round. There's a lot of danger there. So I think if Eblen can get past that point, and especially if he can get his game working early and start wearing on Fabian Edwards, I think it will work in his favor, and I do think Eblen will win by unanimous decision. But don't sleep on Edwards. That first round, I think maybe in the first 2 rounds, are going to be real paramount to how that fight goes.
I have not been on the Johnny Eblen train. In fact, looking back on a lot of different Bellator fights that he's been a part of, I feel like I've picked against him more often than otherwise. I had high hopes for Tokov in that last fight, and boy, was I wrong. So I'm going to not pick against Johnny Eblen now because he's fucking undefeated. He is 13-0. Is he a only Bellator guy? No, he has fought his first few fights with Shamrock. Wow. That's Ken Shamrock's little promotion there. Good for him. Yeah, I'll take Johnny Eblen by UD. That's the pick. I like Fabian Edwards a lot. I love both Edwards brothers' fighting abilities, but I'm going to roll with the undefeated champ and Johnny Eblen. Okay.